heard anything.
I sent her the call-in information. I haven't heard back.
Okay, I think we should go ahead and get started. And certainly, if Member Garrett is able to connect from where she is, we can join if that seems all right.
Of course, I'll keep my eyes peeled for her.
Okay. So with that, I will call to order the Board Caucus meeting for Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. I'm David Postman, the Board Chair. With me is Member Russ Hauge, and Member Ollie Garrett is having some technical issue, but we're hoping she'll be able to join us soon. Before we go, we do have one agenda amendment. Later in the meeting, we'll be hearing from Nicola Reed from Licensing, who will present a request from Lumen Field for a pilot program for expanded alcohol service. And we'll get to that in just a minute, but that was inadvertently left off the agenda. So our first item of business then would be approval of the August 17th, 2021 Board Caucus minutes. Motion to approve?
I will so move. Thank you.
Right, and I will second, so that then is approved. And now we will move to our amended item and call on Nicola Reed, the LCB's Compliance and Adjudications Manager, to present the Lumen Field proposal. Oh, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Good morning.
So I was starting with good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Hauge. So first of all, Becky Smith was going to be here today, but has all the confidence that I could provide the information needed that we'll be presenting. So I'm coming before you because representatives from the levy at Lumen Field had reached out requesting a pilot program for an increased level of service within their arena. Per rule, if they would like to increase the level of service outside of the approved perimeters, a request can come before the board for consideration. And so they are respectfully requesting that the following items be considered for a one-year pilot program. The first would be pre-made batched spirit cocktails. These would be pre-made drinks made in the back. There would be no higher alcohol by volume of 8% or less. They would only be selling them from 10 concession stands, and they would be allowed to be brought back into the general seating. Currently in rule, beer and wine are the only two types of alcohol that can be brought back to the general seating. The second request is for low-proof pre-made canned spirit cocktails. In addition, these also would be 8% or less alcohol by volume. They would be sold from, I believe, no more than 10 of their storefronts within the arena, and they would also be allowed to be brought back to the seats. The good thing about the pre-made batch spirits cocktails and the pre-made canned cocktails is that they differ very much from any non-alcoholic drinks. Any types of sodas or waters will be in the 20-ounce bottles or the paper cup with a straw with the Coca-Cola trademark on it. The last request is currently an arena is allowed hawking. And so hawking is when a mass certified employee will walk around the seats and carry canned beer just canned beer, and you're allowed to buy it from the seats. This helps with some of the crowding at the lines at the concession stands, and also gives the patron the ability not have to miss part of the game to buy a beer. And so they are requesting that they can add wine to hawking also. The wine will also be in a sealed container, either in a Tetra Pak or in a can itself. So the arena does have security measures in place. They are actually going to reduce their numbers of points of sale from 279 to 273. Their maximum occupancy is 69,000 guests, and they're going to increase the ratio of staff to guests by 1 to 40. And currently by rule, the minimum is 1 employee to 50 guests. In addition, they will ensure that 75% of their full-time employees will be mask certified training and also have responsible vendor training. Lumen Field does have a state-of-the-art surveillance system to ensure the safety of all patrons, so they are able to view some of the activities going on in the stands. But in addition, depending on the type of event, they also welcome and invite law enforcement whether it be sheriff, police, off-duty. They also have different security crews that they will dispatch for different types of events. So in reviewing the documentation they submitted, and of course that included, we looked at the violation history for the arena. We wanted to ensure that they had support from the city of Seattle. We got data on their ejection rates based off of unruly people or people who have potentially been overserved. And so if you were to approve the one-year pilot program, at the one-year mark, we would do a reevaluation and we would work with enforcement with that jointly. So we would look at the violation history. We would work with the enforcement officers to see if they had noticed any increase in public safety risk. We would also then seek input again from the city of Seattle to ensure that the continuance of this program made sense and that they were not seeing any public safety concerns. We would also then ask for data again on consumption rates or where individuals were ejected from the game, and just to ensure that the pilot program is successful and can either be considered to maybe go for another year or move out of pilot program status. There are some attachments that are with the documentation before you today. The first is the special request letter from their representative for levy at Lumen Field. There's also the correspondence with the city of Seattle. And there's some additional correspondence I had some questions on, and they were responded to via email that I thought were important to include in the package. I will say that our first pilot program was with T-Mobile. They actually did a 2-year pilot program, and they successfully went through that, and they're now in a permanent status. We also have entered into a pilot program with the Climate Pledge Arena for the NHL, and that one is for a 1-year pilot program. And we've also entered into a 1-year pilot program with the University of Washington. So with any sports entertainment facility, we feel like if a level of service is wanting to be increased, it's important that at first we see how that's going to operate for a year or two before we completely make that something permanent that they have. Of course, at any time during the pilot program status, if something is not working or it is clearly obvious that public safety is at risk, we could always reevaluate at any time. And so with that being said, do either of you have any questions for me?
Any questions, Member Hauge?
No, thank you. I had a briefing earlier from Nicola and feel very comfortable with the amount of information that's been developed.
Great. Yeah, I think you've done a really good job presenting this to the board members and getting the information we need. I just, for sake of clarity, I just want to make sure on the 1 year from now, when you have that information for a summary of how the pilot program, it has to come back to the board for action, no matter what, right? Either to, yeah. It cannot be administratively approved or extended or anything.
No, and my apologies. I should have clarified with that. So when
No,
we collect the data at the 1-year mark, we'll essentially do another write-up and come before you and share the information that we got from the local authorities, from enforcement, from the public safety data. I think it was also important to know that one of the things we did ask from levy at Lumen Field is if they're on the DUI kind of target list, and they are not with the city of Seattle at all. And so that was also, a good point of service. They don't allow tailgating on the premises. We do know tailgating occurs, but they also are ensuring that their staff are trained to not let already overly intoxicated people into the facility.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I think you were clear. I just want to be clear for everybody, including the operators, that this is a true pilot program. And if we see problems or it's not going well, we won't hesitate to end it or make modifications, as with any of the ones that you've mentioned with NHL or baseball or UW. So I appreciate that. Anything else to add for this?
I think I have covered all the areas I wanted to share with you today that I thought were really relevant to it. I think just lastly, I do appreciate that they're going to increase their staff level. The minimum is 1 per 50. They're going to do 1 per 40. That really does help. They are a big arena. And in addition, they don't have to have all of their employees mass trained, but they're even going to have 75% mass trained. So that would even be employees that aren't directly serving or handling alcohol itself.
Yeah, that is good. Good. Okay, thank you. Let's just pause for 1 second. Let me check with Dustin to see if Member Garrett has been able to join us or if we know she will before we take action.
Hey, good morning, Chair. I'm still trying to connect with Member Garrett. As of right now, she is not online.
Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and take action on this request then. And with that then, motion to approve the request for Lumen Field for a 1-year pilot program.
I will move that we adopt the program suggested by licensing for Lumen Field for the period suggested.
Great. And I will second that, so that is approved. Thank you, Ms. Reed. Appreciate the work you've done on this to bring it to us.
And thank you for having me.
You bet. Have a good day. Okay, moving to our next agenda items, which is board meeting prep and rules update from our policy and rules team. And I will turn it over first to Kathy Hoffman, the policy and rules manager. Ms. Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair Postman, and good morning, Board Member Garrett. I'm going to provide a brief update on THC compound evaluation rule project, and then hand it over to Jeff for cannabis rule project updates, and then he'll hand it over to Audrey. So I'll go ahead and get started. So for THC compound evaluation rule project, we do have a listen and learn session scheduled now for September 9th at 9 a.m. So it goes from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. To date, we've received no comments on the draft conceptual rules. Sometimes we do get comments from folks right away, but we just released the messaging last week. So hoping to get something in the next couple of weeks. I've already begun drafting the CR 102 rule package for that particular project, and we remain on target at this point for a presentation of that package to the board on September 29th. Any questions? All right, great. Thanks very much, and I will hand it over to Jeff.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Postman and Board Member Hauge. Here's a brief update on cannabis rules in progress today, August 31st, 2021. Starting with the cannabis quality control rules, we continue to work with the economists from IEC. We have now completed 2 scheduled weekly meetings. As part of that work, we sent an invitation via GovDelivery yesterday, seeking interview participants to help us understand producer-processor perspectives beyond the deliberative dialogues we held earlier this year. We are seeking up to 25 licensed cannabis producers and processors across the state, representing all tiers and methods of production, to participate in 1-hour interviews with the economist. So far, we have received 30 responses. Additionally, we anticipate hosting a listen and learn session on or about October 15th, putting our CR 102 proposal at approximately December 8th, 2021. With respect to the cannabis license applicant background check project, no comments were received at the public hearing held on August 18th. We will bring a CR 103 package to you for review at the board meeting tomorrow, September 1st. And this concludes my update for today. May I answer any questions?
None for me. No, thank you, Mr. Kildall.
Okay, thank you, Chair Postman.
Okay, then we will go to Audrey Vasek, sorry, Ms. Vasek, Policy and Rules Coordinator from the alcohol side.
Thank you, Chair Postman, and good morning, Board Member Hauge. I have a couple brief updates on the alcohol rulemaking timelines. So for the project to implement 2021 legislation, House Bill 1480, related to extending the COVID-19 alcohol allowances, the internal rule drafting work group is nearing completion of its review of the comments we received at the first listen and learn session on August 5th on the alcohol to go endorsements. We'll be meeting later today to consider revisions to that portion of the conceptual draft rules. And a second listen and learn session on the portion of the conceptual draft rules related to outdoor alcohol service areas and food service menu requirements is scheduled for this Thursday, September 2nd. Information about the event and how to attend is available on the LCB Rules webpage and was sent through email to GovDelivery subscribers on August 17th. A reminder email should go out tomorrow as well. We've received a number of comments through email so far, and hoping to have same number of attendance at the first event. There are around 60 or so folks at the first event. So after this second listen and learn session, I'll compile the feedback we receive into another comment table, and the internal work group will continue to meet to again review and consider revisions to the conceptual draft rules. Once that language is closer to the rule proposal form, we plan to survey or interview licensees to gather information to help estimate potential compliance costs of new rule requirements, such as tamper-proof container requirements and 21+ labeling requirements for cocktails to go and wine by the glass. This information will help us meet Regulatory Fairness Act requirements as we prepare the CR 102, which I anticipate bringing to the board to consider in late September or early October. So on the horizon, as I've mentioned previously, I'm also beginning to plan for a new rulemaking project related to axe throwing at liquor license premises, and a kickoff meeting with an internal rule project team is scheduled for next week to begin determining the scope of the project, potential timeline, and next steps. I anticipate bringing a CR 101 for the board to consider in late September, early October. So that concludes my rulemaking updates for today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
None from me. I see none. So, okay, thank you. And then you'll present us the rules petition for review and consideration.
Yes, so I'll go right into that. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and present the staff recommendation on a rule petition related to alcohol in adult entertainment establishments. So for background, the board received this rule petition on July 7th from Eric Forbes of Dream Girls of Seattle. Mr. Forbes proposes to amend WAC 314-11050 to allow alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments. So this rule, WAC 314-11050, does not permit businesses to hold a liquor license if they allow, permit, or encourage certain types of conduct or activities on the premises, such as exposure of certain areas of the body, touching, caressing, or fondling certain body parts, or acts that simulate sexual acts. While state law does not directly regulate alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments, this board rule effectively prevents the sale of alcohol in adult entertainment establishments because of the activities it prohibits. So for background, in 2019, the Washington State Legislature passed engrossed House Bill 1756, aimed at addressing the safety and security of adult entertainers and mandating the creation of the Adult Entertainer Advisory Committee, or AEA Committee for short. This bill directed the Department of Labor and Industries to convene the committee and directed the committee to identify measures that would increase the safety and security of adult entertainers and report to the legislature any recommendations requiring legislative action. So the AEA committee consists of 8 adult entertainer representatives, 2 adult entertainment establishment representatives, and a representative from Working Washington, a Seattle-based nonprofit. So the committee report to the legislature, published in November of 2020, includes the following 4 recommendations that the committee voted on and established a majority for. So 1, legalize the service of alcohol in adult entertainment establishments in Washington. 2, require mandatory training for staff in adult entertainment establishments. 3, eliminate the practice of charging back rent to adult entertainers in adult entertainment establishments. And 4, set minimum requirements for security staffing in adult entertainment establishments. Those 4 recommendations work together to support adult entertainer safety and security. While the board has regulatory authority to amend WAC 314-11050 to allow alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments, the board does not have regulatory authority to take action on the other 3 recommendations. Legalizing alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments without implementing the other 3 recommendations from the report may not have the same impact on safety and security of adult entertainers as if all 4 recommendations were implemented at once. As a result, agency staff find it would be premature to initiate rulemaking allowing alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments without direction from the legislature that considers the whole package of recommendations from the report. Additionally, the issue of whether to allow alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments is a significant legislative issue that raises public health and safety concerns that directly impact local governments. So just for some background on the public health and safety issues at play here, in general, greater alcohol outlet density is associated with increased alcohol consumption and related harms, including medical harms, injury, crime, and violence. Since allowing alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments may increase the overall alcohol outlet density, allowing alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments may be linked to increased crime and other public health and safety impacts, depending on the other businesses in the area. For example, in the one instance where the board approved a liquor license for a topless dancing establishment in 1998, on a trial period with strict parameters, the local authority objected to the adult entertainment establishment's liquor license renewal based on criminal activity, and the liquor license was ultimately canceled in 2002. On the other hand, while allowing alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments may be linked to some negative public health and safety impacts, other literature would suggest, including the Adult Entertainment Advisory Committee report, suggests there's not necessarily increased crime, and that any observed increases could be due to other factors such as zoning laws prescribing where adult entertainment establishments can be located. Additionally, many dancers, as described in that committee report, feel that allowing alcohol service in these establishments will improve worker safety, which is a component of public safety. So, due to the public health and safety impacts, both positive and negative, of allowing alcohol service in these establishments, agency staff find this is a significant legislative issue and anticipate that local governments and other interested parties want to be closely involved in the decision-making process on whether to allow alcohol in these establishments. So based on the findings from the AEA committee report and the significant legislative nature of this issue, agency staff recommend the board deny Mr. Forbes' rule petition request to allow alcohol service in adult entertainment establishments. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Member Hauge, questions or comments?
Forgive the background noise. I've got some plumbers here working on a leak inside the walls. Again, Audrey and the rulemaking staff have briefed me very comprehensively on this. We've been looking at this for a while, and I appreciate the depth of the inquiry that our rulemaking team has undertaken. And I certainly agree that this is really a question for the legislature. There are too many things too many balls in the air for us to really make a worthwhile stab at this, I believe.
Great. Yeah, I would align myself with those comments as well. I did read the task force report pretty carefully. We've discussed it. I have with policy and others. And again, just sort of thinking out loud here and looking for clarification if I've got this wrong, but it seems that the members of the task force, at least some of those members of the task force, the workers, were asking for legislative action for a couple of reasons, perhaps, but including that their package of recommendations was more than just to allow alcohol. And there's one reference which I was trying to find out of the corner of my eye here and haven't, but as I recall, it was and maybe this was in your analysis, Ms. Vasek, but the owners and operators would like to see alcohol, of course. Some of these others might be more specific to worker protections, and we would really be just taking a piece of this to approve within our legal authority, because we don't regulate those other pieces. And so we'd be kind of picking and choosing from the task force recommendations and maybe putting the cart before the horse. Is that a fair summation, do you think?
Yeah, I think that captures it. There were 4 recommendations in the report, alcohol legalization being one of them. And I think those 4 work together, and to do one without the others would perhaps not have the same effect.
And in discussing this with various members of the staff and including public health concerns and others, I didn't hear a lot of strong objection to the concept presented here, but not support for leading it with the legalization. That's not to prejudge what our decision would be when in fact it does come back to us, if in fact it does come back to us after the legislature acts. But from my perspective, at least, this is not out of any clear objection to the idea of doing something along the lines that task force recommended. Again, I was trying to find another line. I did mark up my report, but I'm not finding it right now. But, you know, this really was presented in the task force report. These were workers' concerns. You know, the workers at these clubs are, they'll say strippers are workers. And like all workers, they deserve workplace protections tailored to their needs. That's from the report. And when I read that, I again take this in that holistic view of there was a package of things that they thought would give them the workplace protections that they needed. So with that, I will pause and see if any other comments, Member Hauge, or anything, Ms. Vasek. And if not, then I will look for a motion to approve the rules petition amending WAC 314-11-050 to allow alcohol service in adult entertainment facilities. And the motion would be to accept the staff recommendation, which is to reject the petition at this point and await legislative action as presented by the task force.
I will move that we accept the staff recommendation regarding this application.
Great. I will second that. Then that is approved. Thank you, Ms. Vasek, for the work you did on this throughout and for bringing it to us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. We are to the last item, which is board member and executive assistant reports. I will say we will not have a quorum for next Tuesday, so there will be no caucus on the 7th. With that, I'll pause for a moment to see if Dustin Dixon has anything to add today.
Nothing additional for me. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Member Hauge, any last thoughts?
Yes, thank you. I got a moment of silence here where the walls aren't being ripped apart. We got a letter on Sunday from a license holder, Mr. Dusick, and he asked for some response. And of course, I'm sure we will follow up on that. But it's not the issue he raises directly, but it's an issue that has been coming up more and more lately. And I've talked about it a little bit with Kathy from rulemaking and the other members of the management team. I've been pretty pessimistic about the possibility of the federal government taking any steps regarding legalization or decriminalization. It seemed to me that there is so much other work that needs to be done that that's not going to happen anytime soon. I'm not changing my mind, but more and more we are wrestling with issues that relate not to so much the market that we have now that was designed in Initiative 502, but what the market's going to look like when the feds do decriminalize. And we know that simple decriminalization will be the kickoff bell for the industry to try to take advantage of the benefits of doing business on a national scale. I would like us, the board, to spend some time thinking about what we would like to see the system look like when it is nationally legalized, so that we're not caught unawares. And by that, what I mean is, what about the current system would we recommend preserving? What would we recommend changing? We're going to need some legal advice about what will inevitably change, such as interstate commerce. But I don't think it's too soon to start thinking in those terms. I know that it bothers me, and I can only imagine what a license holder might be thinking in facing the possibility of the whole system changing, as it will within a period of probably no fewer than 2 years, but probably no more than 5. And again, I think it's something we should be paying attention to.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. First of all, I agree with you. I don't think we will see decriminalization or legalization immediately. I think 2 years would be, you know, really optimistic given what's happened. You know, when the bill in Congress was released for review recently, one of the first things I read was the sponsors themselves saying, well, this isn't going to pass. So, you know, it really is to start that discussion. LCB staff is looking very carefully at the legislation because it does give us some early signals, at least, about some of the things you were talking about, which is, you know, where are the places where it would force us to change, maybe to from our view, you know, an incursion into a territory that we think states' rights should maintain. So that I'm glad that we're doing that, and I would just I second that request. I think we should have that discussion. We hear it a lot from licensees from very different perspectives, and one of the things we've heard a little bit, which frankly I don't know how to get my head around it, whether what I would agree or not on this is, you know, we need to be ready to have Washington's industry become national leaders. And, you know, we all want every Washington industry to be the best and all that. And I know that the governor who appointed us loves to brag about every Washington business, including its cannabis growers, producers. But that's, I think, a conversation that is really complicated and has a lot to do with our current policies and enforcement and all that, and where do we move? And I just say that as, I guess, again, to second that, I've been having these same questions, and so why don't we? I will follow up with staff and see. I know that the policy and rules team are looking at and the external affairs are looking at the federal legislation as a place to start their discussions. And I think we should find a way to bring the full board into those conversations, which then means it would be a public conversation as well. And so I think it's time for that. So and if you have ideas on how, Member Hauge, that you'd like to see that, we could do with a work session in caucus with staff first, or with, if we want to hear from members of the industry early, whatever. But we should figure out how to build that conversation and be purposeful about it. So yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think starting out with what the work that's going, a board briefing of the work that's going on in the agency on these questions.
Right.
And yeah, I think that it would be very important to have a public discussion with our license holders about what they would like to see preserved of our current system,
Right.
when we imagine what might happen with national decriminalization or legalization. I think we have to hear from them.
Yeah, good. Why don't we start with that then, and we can ask the team to come to us and give us their best read of what that bill does say, and if there are places that it rubs up against things that concern us. And as you know, Rick Garza pointed out a little while ago, you know, we had a meeting with Patty Murray's staff on this, and they seem very open to wanting to hear from us about, you know, where are those red flags and where are the things we really want to preserve about our system and not let national decriminalization impact. So I think we've got a you know, good partner in DC on this conversation too, and that's where it should lead. So good, I'll follow up on that and we'll figure out how to do that, and we'll start with a briefing on the national bill for people. So great, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, with that, we will adjourn the LCB Board Caucus meeting for, well, August 31st already. And we will have a board meeting tomorrow, but no caucus next week. So thank you all. Have a great day.